So what if I told you that there was a spell that would allow you to turn any chair / vehicle that chair is attached to into a spaceship in D&D? Well, there actually is. There's this lovely little spell called Create Spelljamming Helm, and this is also one of those spells that has a type of ability that I feel like I need to create a specific category for on this channel moving forward. The sort of ability and feature in the game that should come with its own warning labels for DMs. I'm going to start putting that and making it more public, because while I love this spell and other spells that I've covered, and what things it can do for players and DMs in the world as a whole, some might not particularly have a place for it or want it in their games because of just what it can bring to the table. So anyways, this has a warning label on it. So what the spell does is allow you to take a chair of large or smaller size, wave a crystal rod worth 5,000 gold pieces over it, and then poof! It becomes a magical spaceship that can warp you and your party to other worlds and even allow you to travel to the astral sea. Don't believe me? Here's literally the spell's description. Now granted, the lore and the actual item ability is a bit larger in comparison to just the spell itself. The item that I'm referencing with this spell allows you to travel to other planets and is basically used within the Spelljammer setting. And without this spell, you would probably either need to find a Spelljamming Helm yourself, buy one, or just take one. Because this is the sort of item where if you don't have one, there is no way that you're going to be able to get anywhere within the Spelljammer setting. The main reason why is when it comes down to it, Spelljamming Helms can move incredibly fast, and they're the only thing that can actually let you get through space that quickly. Literally, the helm itself is said to move 100 million miles in 24 hours. And of course, this is something that you can use on air, on land, on sea. Of course, the 100 million miles is not something you can just zip to on Earth, but it's more along the lines of something that you can use within space. So yeah, it's a very interesting kind of spell that creates a very interesting kind of item. And even too, with this sort of item that you can just get access to, it really did surprise me just how early in the game you can get access to this spell and therefore this item. Now yes, this is a 5th level spell, and 5th level isn't exactly early game, but that doesn't change the fact that this spell does basically allow you to absolutely derail the entirety of whatever plot you could be going on in that moment. Now granted, maybe your DM didn't have much of a plot, maybe this was a sandbox kind of game. But even if that were the case, you can't tell me that this is something that any DM would realistically be prepared for. And I mean, honestly too, most DMs are typically prepped to run a certain kind of environment, region, kingdom, or location. Just have that ready for their players, whether that be for some kind of Westmarch sandbox or story module style campaign. But this is something that I doubt any kind of DM can or even just would have prepared. And I mean, even too, I don't really blame a player for wanting to take this spell. It sounds awesome. Like, once I figured out what it actually did, I'm like, oh my god, you can just make a spaceship. Like, that's amazing. But at the same time, I do understand how quickly that can completely change the entire narrative focus that your DM was planning to have for that game. If you just wanted to have some sort of like medieval fantasy style adventure, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, my wizard just figured out that he has the ability to make a spaceship. That's something that can ridiculously not just change the entire plot of the game, but even too just the entire story and direction the DM was planning to take this game to. So even too, I know I'm beating a dead horse with this, but it really is crazy to me that this spell basically says, hey, I can take a crystal rod worth a few thousand gold lying around, and I can turn any vehicle or even just any structure into a spaceship. Honestly, that's another thing too with the Spelljamming Helm, is that it doesn't even need to be any sort of conventional vehicle. Yes, the book and the source material do talk about how it's recommended that you use something like a ship, or maybe a cart, or maybe just some other sort of thing that would logically be able to move. But within the lore, there's actually varying accounts of people making Spelljamming Helms out of the craziest things. There's like Spelljamming islands, there's Spelljamming mountains that dwarves used and piloted around. There's all of these other crazy kinds of things, and it really does go to show you like how ridiculous and adaptable this spell can be. You can just make a spaceship out of just random stuff you have around. And honestly, with how easy it is to do all this, I think it's really appropriate that the material component for this is a rod, because when you cast the spell, you're basically giving the shaft to whoever your DM is, and their only hope is finding whether or not having their spells jammed is something they'd be kinda into. Like, just imagine you're a DM and you ask your players, hey guys, your characters have a nice chunk of downtime, what do you want to do? And one of them, completely out of the blue, no hinting, no warning, just straight up says, yeah, I'm gonna go to space and be a space pirate for the next couple days during my downtime. How do you even begin to respond to abilities like that? And you might be thinking, Smiles, I honestly don't get what the big deal is. It's only a spell like 2 classes in the game can cast, right? Wizard can get it at 10th level, and Artificer can get it at like 19th level. So, if my Wizard never really has the opportunity to cast it, because I don't actually know if I'm going to get that far into a game with an Artificer, I'll probably never actually encounter it and never actually DM for it. So it doesn't really sound like a whole lot of people can actually get this spell. What's the big concern about it? Wrong. Big wrong. Spell lists are a suggestion on the channel. We know we can dig a little bit deeper than this. First up, so if you want to get access to this spell without being a Wizard or a high-level Artificer, one of the big things you can do to get it is by going Bard and then taking this spell as your magical secrets. Now with this, you can be singing songs across the stars. And if maybe Bard isn't your speed, you can also go Sorcerer. What Sorcerer, you ask? Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. And the reason for this is that their first level feature, Clockwork Magic, allows you to learn any Wizard, Warlock, or Sorcerer spell up to 5th level that is Transmutation, and you can just put it as part of your spell list. Moving forward, you also have the Genie Warlock. And while yes, you might be thinking that this one on the surface doesn't make any sense, you see, you have this very lovely capstone feature called Limited Wish. So what this ability does is it allows you to basically take any spell effect within the game, any spell list, whatever, of 6th level or lower, and that is a casting time of 1 action or less. And then just make the effect. And the craziest part about this too is that you don't even need the 5,000 gold piece rod. You literally just have it poof into existence, and you now have a spaceship. And even too, I brought up the example with the Limited Wish and how you don't need to pay for the crystal rod, and you just bring the spell about. But there are actually other ways too you can completely get around the gold cost. So the biggest thing you can do is play as a creation bard. Through their capstone, it allows you to create any sort of item without a limit on a monetary cost. And as we've discussed on the channel a lot of times already, is that these items can be consumed as spell components. So you see, the thing with creation bards is, especially at later levels, they can completely bypass the gold costs of most materials. And I mean, when it comes to D&D players, they can hoard so much gold, and yet also, weirdly enough, sometimes have absolutely none. You know, wouldn't it be great if there was a creature to tip some of these scales? So luckily for you, I actually have a creature that would allow you to do just that. It is available on my coffee, and this little guy is called the Neok. These creatures love eating valuable metals and can bring in some fun situations for your party members in your D&D games. This little bundle comes with a stat block you can use, as well as some art made by yours truly. And if you go and check it out and get a copy of yours today, it's only $1 on the coffee. And yes, and you heard that right, for the next day, in fact the next 3 days, if you purchase this creature, it's on sale for $1. So if you've really been loving the content on the channel for a while and want to support me and or if you like this little guy I made and want to bring them into your D&D games, then check out my coffee, link in the description. But anyways, my personal ad aside, back on track to the rest of the video. Now that we've come this far in regards to the analysis of Create Spelljamming Helm, I want to give the players some tips with this spell. So first, please tell your DM that this is the kind of spell that you'd want to take for your character later on, / just use in general. Be transparent with them that this is something that you'd actually want to do or be interested in doing. And in doing this, it allows you to give your DM a bit of prep that they might be able to do to the world building and then plan accordingly when you just drop this spell on everyone at the table. And you know, the other thing too is maybe they'll be super chill with this and want to work with you and include other sorts of worlds and galaxies for you and your party to explore. But also to just know that this might not be the spell that you get to use as much as you hope and think it will be. Not every DM is going to be incredibly accommodating for this kind of spell, and honestly, I really don't blame them. Not every game or setting is going to be really geared for this. Some games will want to stay on the ground or just wherever they are, and that's totally okay. It can be a lot for them to process. And if you want to bring something this massive into your games, then please try to give your DM an easier time of working with this. D&D is supposed to be a very collaborative game. If you want something in the game, sometimes you have to give a little bit of that effort yourself. And even too, unfortunately, at the end of the day, if your DM says no, that is the final say of this. Don't be that guy that just tries to derail the DM just because you feel like you have the right to and all of these other things. Everyone at the table is trying to have fun. Try to be mindful that your DM is also trying to have fun and doesn't want to deal with tons and tons of work. But DMs, if this is the spell that you really do like the concept of and really want to work into your games, then do it. Make galaxies of worlds of adventure. Let the players travel the stars, fight aliens, become space pirates or explorers, learn the secrets of the multiverse as they wander the planes and the cosmos. Something as simple as starting off the campaign in your typical medieval magic fantasy world, and then the party's lives are forever changed when they find the ruins of an old Spelljammer. They all get inside, and the party figures out what this thing is, how it works, and then end up traveling the stars. So anyways though, I hope that you enjoyed learning a little bit more about this crazy fun kind of spell. I also hope that you're mindful with the PSA that this spell needs to come with. But if you enjoyed learning about this spell and want to see more from me, then please like this video and subscribe for even more D&D content and ideas. And in the meantime, keep smiling, keep scheming, and I'll see all of you next time.